So your boy Seth Grimes just took over the pencil in AEW. Who's on the chopping block? I got the roster page pulled up and cuts will be made. What's up, y'all? It's your boy Seth Grimes here with some bonus content. Super fun. I was recently watching an episode from Jim Cornette's YouTube, one of his clips where he went through and evaluated the entire AEW roster. And I thought that looked so fun, and I was so intrigued that I want to do it myself because I have my own opinions on this. I think it's a bloated ass roster. And so I'm going to go in with a fine tooth comb and pretend that for some reason Tony Khan went even more insane and he booked me to take over his pencil, to take over his booking, to be in complete control of his talent, his roster. And I get to go in and make any cuts that I like. I won't be going into any fantasy booking stuff, most likely, or any potential new hires. I'm not going to fantasy book as the booker of the territory. This is strictly a roster evaluation in the form of the fantasy that I work for AEW now, and I'm in charge, and all of these people are fucked. Or are they? Who's fucked? Who's not fucked? Let's dive into it. Before we do, though, if I could bug you to please like, follow, and subscribe at Seth Grimes Media, TikTok, Facebook, or Twitter if you're on any of those platforms. And while you're here, hit the subscribe button down below. Help me grow my channel. Help me reach that 1,000 subscriber mark so I can monetize this bitch, and it will keep you up to date anytime I post any kind of fun bonus content like this, especially wrestling stuff. I just fucking love this shit. If this goes well, I'll probably dive into a WWE roster, maybe a SmackDown, an NXT, and then a Raw. Who knows? But without any further ado, let's go ahead and hop on over to AEW's website, check out their active roster, and see what kind of changes I might make. All right, here we are on the official AEW roster page. Looks like they have this listed as champions first, and then in alphabetical order, starting with the men's roster. Let's go ahead and start with the champions and see where we're at here. Of course, this is 6 pages long in itself because this is the champions page of AEW. All right, so we got Jon Moxley, right? We got the Mox Daddy. I like Mox. We'll definitely keep Mox around. Mox is impressing me more and more with his promo. I've always thought he was a good promo. I've never not felt he was a good promo. Never not noticed his skills. But that one last week where he was just rambling backstage and stuff, and he's like, I'm going to back you into a corner and just make you be tough and stuff. Just that his whole demeanor, I was kind of in awe of it when he was doing it. I was like, wow, what a promo. You know what I mean? The shit that just pops off the top of this guy's head. I don't have the same complaints that Cornette does. I like the guy. So, we're going to go ahead and keep him around. Oh, it looks like it's got the title history under that, too. We're not going to do all that. Thunder Rosa. This is interesting because she's got a lot of locker room heat. Supposedly the chicks don't like her all that much. I'm a fan of Thunder Rosa. I think I will keep her around. But, we're going to see how it plays out with... does she continue when she comes back? Does she continue to rub the locker room the wrong way? Do we continue to get more complaints about her? Or is she more chill now? Or is she going to be rough with everybody still? So a lot of things there to consider. Toni Storm, obviously a keeper, talented. There's no reason to get rid of her. The Acclaimed, fantastic. Huge fans of the Acclaimed, well before they won the tag titles, well before the Scissor Me Daddy ass. Back when they were doing their great heel work, you know what I mean? Like, remember the music video they dropped when they were beefing with Sting back in the pandemic era? Still, it was they did a cinematic match with Sting and Darby, and they did the Goth Phase music video. It was so good. And I remember reading the comments, like everybody was shitting on it. Like, oh, these guys are, goofballs. And what are they? This is so stupid. Why? And I was like, are you kidding me? This is brilliant. Two grown men and they're going through a goth phase. It's just, so good. And, watching like interviews with the two, especially Max Caster. He's got just a little bit more charisma, I think, than Bowens, but Bowens very charismatic as well. They're both just fantastic in the ring. They're fantastic characters to watch. They're both charismatic. They are a great tag team, and I've heard people say that they are the current new age outlaws, if you will. And I kind of believe that too. They're not a copy of that, but they got that same energy, Death Triangle. Yeah, of course we keep them around. I'm a big fan of Penta and a big fan of Phoenix. I could pass, give or take on Pac. He doesn't do anything for me, but I do realize that he's got a great look. I'm kind of with Cornette on him, actually. He doesn't, I don't know. He looks good, but beyond that, he doesn't blow me away on anything. Speaking of looking good, look at this fucking hoss here. War Daddy, huh? Wardlow. Let's go back here. Yeah, Wardlow, we're absolutely going to keep Wardlow around, dude. He's a blue chipper. He's a future main event star. He's like the modern day Batista in a lot of ways. And look, his charisma is coming around too. I know a lot of people think that he's boring and stale and not charismatic. And, just by hearing him in interviews, dude, the interviews he was doing a year ago compared to interviews he's doing now, he's much more loosened up and stuff. Braun Breaker is going through the same thing. He's not the best interview in the world, but these guys will continue to get used to this stuff and loosen up. Wardlow's absolutely a guy that you want to keep around and probably push higher on the card and use him on the damn show. Use the fucking guy. God damn. Jade Cargill, one of my favorites. I love me some Jade Cargill. I know a lot of people hate Jade Cargill, and I get it. I understand. She's green. She's, hard to watch in the ring sometimes, but she's new. She's brand new, and you don't hide talent. Like I hear people say on the internet too, or watch, read them say, that she should still be, training right now and in developmental of some kind and shouldn't be on TV. And you don't hide talent like that in developmental. Sometimes you put talent on TV right away. Like she's TV ready talent wise, as far as not in ring, but she can talk. She carries herself like a fucking goddess, right? She is in charge. She is the bitch. She is that bitch. She is queen bitch. She carries that fucking energy about her, right? She's got a star power to her. I think she's the second coming of China. I think she's being used better than China was. I like the idea of Jade just being a dominant top champion in AEW. I like that she's on the posters for everything. She's getting interviews. She's being used as a top star. They know, Tony Khan knows that Jade Cargill is a big piece to the AEW puzzle. She's a big star on the rise. Look, you can always get better in the ring, but she's a fucking star, whether you like her or not, whether she bugs you or not, whether you think she's a talentless, a green hack. She's a fucking star. She's got big star power. She's got mainstream crossover appeal. And look, she looks the part. A lot of these girls, people complain about girls wrestling. It's the lowest rated shit on the program. so you can sit and say, oh, we need equality and we need equal number of women's matches and men. Ugh. The reason why they don't get as much time is because it kills the show. That's why. It kills the show. Now you could argue, is it the chicken or the egg, right? Are they killing the show because they don't get enough TV time, therefore they're not over as much, therefore people don't want to see them as much? Or is it just that people don't like the women wrestlers? Part of that is just a lot of them don't look the part. Now, AEW's got a fucking stacked women's roster. Jamie Hayter, Thunder Rosa, Britt Baker, fucking Jade Cargill, Athena, Tony Storm. Like, it goes on and on and on. Ruby Soho, if she ever comes back to TV again. Maybe she's injured. Who knows? Because AEW also doesn't, acknowledge like concussions and shit. So sometimes they just quietly let people heal. Jade Cargill's a keeper. She's a megastar. I'll move on. I'm not going to spend this much time on everybody, but these are obviously top guys, right? So top guys get a little more time, don't you know? Orange Cassidy. Again, I'm not a Jim Cornette. I'm not like Jim Cornette where I don't get the comedy. I like comedy. Wrestling needs a little comedy. You don't put it in the main event. It's not your fucking... it's not what you're going to sell your shows on, but you need it to break the tension sometimes. There's the... Bruce Pritchard always talks about your let me up moment. Well, this is the let me up moment for AEW, right? You need Orange Cassidy, any segment that he's in, or a Danhausen. That's your let me up moment. All right, moving on to the rest of the men's roster here. We're going to go through these a little more quickly now that we're not in champions mode, unless somebody triggers some sort of particular rant in me, then I might go off a little bit. But let's take a look, see what we got here. Aaron Solo, let's go ahead and cut him. He's nothing against him. It's not like I don't like him or nothing. It's just, what have you done? You know what I mean? Other than being a guy on the vlog crew and Sammy's vlog. Ty Conti doesn't like him very much, which, makes him a baby face in my book because I don't like her very much. But Aaron Solo, like I said, nothing against him, but hit the bricks. Adam Cole, baby. I would keep him, obviously, and throw him a sandwich and write it into his next contract. That dude needs to eat food. I don't know. I'm not a body shamer by any stretch. I don't mind a skinny guy as long as he can go and perform like anybody else. But it's almost embarrassing to the fact that, like, you're a professional. Take your job seriously. Like, if you're going to be a big fat guy, then be a big fat guy. That's fine. Like a Mick Foley doesn't really need to. Even he would hit the gym. You know what I mean? But for all intents and purposes, he could eat a cheese pizza or a fucking Taco Bell run or something, and it's not going to bother his character. But Adam Cole running around in his underwear, take some pride in your job a little bit, hit the gym, look the part a little bit. I'm not saying you got to be John Cena. Just, tone up a little, thicken up a little. It's not hard. Adam Page. Hangman Adam Page, I'd keep him around. I like Hangman. I don't like him as much as I did when AEW first started. Not because of the CM Punk drama or anything. I don't really hold that against him. I don't know that he's ever gone, like, he's been the world champion, yes, but he didn't transcend yet. I don't think he's a top guy yet. Holding the belt doesn't make you a top guy. You have to be a top guy. And that's not to say he can't get there. I just don't think he's, the top cream of the crop necessarily yet. Alex Reynolds, yeah, I'd keep him around with Silver as a tag team. So I guess spoiler alert when I get down to fucking Silver's name or whatever, but I'd keep them around as a tag team. I'm not a huge fan of Dark Order, and I can't say I'm going to keep everybody in the Dark Order, but we'll keep Reynolds and Silver as a tag team. If for whatever reason Silver was to leave, or quit or didn't want to do it anymore, or he was starting to break out and I wanted to use him as a singles guy, I'd get rid of Alex Reynolds. I don't think he alone is a keeper, but as a package deal with John Silver, I'm all for it. Andrade El Idolo. Look, man, I like his character. I like the suit and the tranquilo in the skull, black skull mask. Beyond that, I think he's a charisma vacuum other than his look. And, because he looks like $1,000,000, even physically. He's a handsome guy. He's in shape. He can wrestle like a motherfucker. He can put on a great match. He just doesn't do anything for you creatively, right? Like, there's nothing to him. Plus, he's a whiny bitch that wants to go back to WWE to be with his fucking wife. So, cut him. Let him go. Fine. He's not going to be a difference maker in WWE. It's going to be a one night where the crowd goes, oh, holy shit, and then 2 weeks later, nobody's going to care because he's Andrade El Idolo, right? Get rid of him. Angelico, bye. See ya. Have a good day. Just look at the guy, right? Look at that face. If for no other reason, his face. Just, I don't like the look of this guy on my roster. He's a weirdo. Sorry. I can be a dick like that. Why not? It's my roster now, right? Angelo Parker. Cool Hand Ange. Absolutely got to keep him around. 2.0. Big fans. Absolutely keeping him around. Bowens we already addressed. Anthony Ogogo. God, that's a tough one because he's, was an Olympic level athlete. He looks good. He just what's the hang up? Why isn't he on TV? What is he lacking in his development? Is he I guess I would keep him, but I would set him on a list to the side of guys to keep an eye on to maybe come back to in 6 months and see, once I'm there and I can learn what his deal is, why, is he just slow to develop? Has he got an attitude problem? Is Tony Khan just shitty at booking and doesn't use him ever? Whatever it is, I don't know. I don't watch Dark, so that's where he does all his work. Couldn't tell you. Austin Gunn, of course. We got to keep the ass boys around, right? Like they're over as fuck. Keep the ass boys. And we're also going to keep Papa, Billy Gunn, of course. He's over as fuck right now. And even if he wasn't on TV and all this runs his course and he's not really doing much for TV anymore, because he's having a whole second run now at this point. It's incredible. But if for some reason that starts to fail him, then, we'll keep him around in a backstage role of some kind. So we're not getting rid of Billy at all. Brandon Cutler, we'll get rid of Brandon. He can have his personal assistant fucking deal with the Elite if he wants, but he makes a good stooge. Let me take that back. I like him in his current role as a stooge, so we won't cut him for now. But anytime that runs its course, if the Young Bucks work their way around to being like baby faces again, and they decide that that they don't need a fucking goofy stooge running around the outside anymore, and they go back to just being by themselves, then that'll probably be a time where we take Brandon Cutler off of the roster. Brian Cage, let's go ahead and get rid of him. Bye. Not doing anything for me. Don't care. Big muscle dummy, in my opinion. Charisma vacuum. Brian Pillman Jr. This is an interesting one because I don't think that he has been cutting the mustard. I don't think it's an issue if he's just being poorly used. I think he's not living up to his full potential. But he could get there. He's a name, just being Pillman's son. He's got a hell of a look. He made the mullet cool again. Mullets are starting to come back around. I think you keep him around with the Varsity Blondes. I like the Varsity Blondes. I want to see him grow, though. I want to see him develop because I would like to use him as a regular singles star someday. I'd like to move him up the card towards his TNT title, but I want him to earn it. You know what I mean? I don't want to just give him the old push ski. I want to see him work. Brock Anderson, if they have some sort of developmental system, a per appearance maybe to do a spot on Dark or whatever, or if he fits into a tag team or a faction with a veteran. And, all of that would really just be to try to, keep Arn happy, basically, just because he's Arn's kid, to find a spot for him. But I think as for now, we'd cut Brock. We're keeping Brody King. I was in attendance where he won the Battle Royal by choking Darby over the edge and then just letting him go. And it was one of the damnedest things I've ever seen. I shouldn't say it was the damnedest, because it was the same night Chris Jericho got the big swing by Claudio on top of the cage. That was the damnedest thing I've ever seen. But maybe that choke drop was the second. Bryan Danielson, obviously no brainer. We're gonna keep him. I'd like to split up the Blackpool Combat Club. I don't feel like it's doing anybody in the group any favors at this point. I think it's holding everybody back. I think Danielson needs to be I like him as a mean, dirty heel. I like his promos where he goes out there and he's just mean and he just wants to fight. He bullies people and he likes to play with them in the ring and twist them in knots and make them scream, and is just violent, and the kicks to the head. I'm going to kick your fucking head in. I like that guy, and he's doing that, but he's doing it in the faction, and I don't know. He could just be a world champion, in my opinion. Buddy Matthews, get rid of him. He wants to leave. Let him leave. He does nothing for me. Sure, he's talented, but, where's the charisma at, honestly? Cash, obviously Dax and Cash are sticking around. Duh. Pushing them to the top as the tag team champions. They're just going to they're going to hold the tag titles forever, the Ring of Honor titles forever. Not forever, you got to have some storyline in there, but as long as they are signed with me, they are going to be the predominant tag team in the Federation. They're going to be the gold standard. They're going to be the top team, and everybody else is going to have to try to hang. Chris Jericho, obviously keeping him around. I think he's key to AEW, especially at this point. I don't buy into him being this bad influence on everybody and a manipulator. I'm sure he's a bit of a manipulator. He is cagey like that, but just opportunistic in a way. Like a quick sidebar, like I'm a big fan of the new Terrifier 2 movie that came out, and he's in that. And it's like Jericho finagled his way into that, right? He liked the movie. He had the actor of Art Clown on his podcast. And then he's just like casually said at the end, like, hey, if you ever have like an open part or whatever, I think he said it in the podcast, but he did bring it up. There was a podcast done where a second one with the director of the movie, and it was basically like Jericho like hit him up like, hey, if you ever got a spot for me. And because he's Chris Jericho, they're like, yeah, of course we got a spot for you, come on, you're Chris Jericho, it's duh. But he's got a way of kind of weaseling his way into things, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. This is the wrestling business, you know what I mean? So keep himself relevant and at the top of the card is a real tip of the hat to him, and I want him around. I think he's a good influence on the locker room, as a matter of fact. Christian Cage, same thing. We're keeping him around for roughly the same reasons, just much less of a scale. Good influence on the locker room, smart to the business. Christopher Daniels, he's got an office job. We'll keep him at the office job. He won't wrestle on TV. Chuck Taylor, yeah, I want a stacked tag division. So as long as he's teaming with Trent Beretta, the Best Friends, I want them on the roster as a team. If for some reason Trent was injured and could never wrestle again, or he was taken off and he broke out as a solo guy, Chuck would get cut at that point. Claudio, we got to keep Claudio on the roster, right? That's a no-brainer. CM Punk. Oh my. Here we go. Do you keep Punk? If he wants to stay, right? Do you keep Punk? the whole locker room sounds like they hate him. And as big of a star that Punk is, as much as I love Punk or loved or whatever, I don't want my whole locker room to be crabby and miserable coming to work and want to end up leaving and just not like it there anymore. You got to create that work environment where it's fun to be there. You have to. I know it's business, but you got to look. I mean, it's good for the long-term business to have a happy locker room too. You know what I mean? He can do a couple years with Punk till he retires because he's feeble anyway. He's going to spend half his time on the injured reserve. But, yeah, he's going to draw you big houses and big pay-per-view buys and that kind of thing. But in 5 years, when his run is done, did you lose all your undercard guys to WWE at that point because they didn't want to be in a toxic locker room? If that's the case, if Punk can't come back and play ball, which I don't think he has it in him to do, then I think he has to go. Boom, boom, Colt Cabana. Boom, boom, Colt Cabana. It's Colt Cabana. I don't like Colt Cabana at all. He bugs me. He rubs me the wrong way. I'm sorry. I know the internet loves Colt Cabana. I can just feel the hate. I can feel it coming in the comments and everything. Just okay. I accept it. I hate Colt Cabana. I don't like him at all. I think he's a douchebag. I think he's smug. I think he's arrogant. Just the way he talks on his podcast. He's got his one where he talks about wrestling stories. And when there's ones that are not so kind to wrestlers, like, Drunk Sandman, for example, stuff like that, he's a little bit judgy. He's a little bit, he's just got a tone of like, he just doesn't, I don't know. Sometimes it's hard to explain things, but he just seems like he looks down on people a little bit to a certain extent. And he's a little preachy at times and a little too virtue signally a little bit. I think he's overrated as a talent or past his prime. I don't know. He bugs me. So I would actually get rid of Colt Cabana. Nothing to do with CM Punk. Just get rid of Colt Cabana. Colton Gunn, we already discussed. Danhausen. I kind of mentioned him along with Orange Cassidy. I like a little comedy in my stuff, and I love Danhausen. Just love me some Danhausen. Can't go wrong with that guy. I feel like he's being used pretty poorly, actually, by Tony Khan, but thankfully he's such a personality that he can just keep himself going. You know what I mean? Daniel Garcia, I think he's a blue chipper. I see so much hate about this guy online, and I'm kind of flabbergasted by it. I see people call him a charisma vacuum, that kind of stuff. I've said that about a few guys on this list already. But goddamn, like Daniel Garcia, to me, he reminds me of a young Randy Orton. Like when Orton first broke into the business and he had the fucking blue pleather boy shorts on, and he had the fucking shaggy hair. And this was before he joined Evolution, right? I see a very young Randy Orton and Daniel Garcia mixed with like Bryan Danielson. You know what I mean? Like he's a talented guy, and I see a big future in him. He needs to fill out a little bit, get more comfortable on the mic, get more comfortable as a personality. And by the way, that's why he's with Chris Jericho. People hate on, Chris Jericho's holding down all these young guys and blah, blah. Oh, he's trying to sponge off of them. Yes, to a certain extent, he's in, and that's the give and take of it, right? That's what keeps Jericho fresh, is by, sucking off the young blood, so to speak, if you want to put it that way. But at the same time, like, that's invaluable experience for a guy like Daniel Garcia and 2.0 and all of them to just be out there with Chris Jericho every night. Not even that, like, you could say you agree or disagree with Jericho as a wrestler, as his personal views, his opinions, whatever. But his experience in the business alone, and just the way that he can read crowds and just man, it's invaluable experience to be out there with a vet, in it like that. So, and he's working with Brian Danielson. He's in good hands. He's a major player in the future. I'm telling you, don't sleep on Daniel Garcia. Dante Martin, he's talented as fuck. We'll keep him around. But I don't know. He doesn't inspire me. I don't know that I have ideas for him necessarily, but I do recognize his talent. Darby Allin, no brainer. Why would you get rid of Darby? As a matter of fact, I would push him back into the spotlight a little bit. I think he's a little bit lower mid card right now, and that's just not a spot where Darby Allin needs to be. He's one of their biggest stars, and he can be a big crossover star too. He's friends with like Tony Hawk and shit. Take advantage of that somehow. Bring Tony Hawk in. Fucking do YouTube specials. Do like something, man. Give Darby his own fucking show on your YouTube channel where he televise his fucking jump in his house with his cars and all that weirdo shit he does. Why not, dude? Darius Martin. He's injured all the time, right? He's been injured a couple times now. That's why he made his comeback and he got hurt again already. I want a strong tag team roster, but maybe Dante is better as a solo and we just get rid of Darius. I would say let's let Darius come back. Let's pair him back up with Dante as a tag team. And if he gets hurt again or that team just doesn't catch fire, we'll reevaluate them at the next roster review. You know what I mean? Harwood, no brainer. Just champion of a lifetime. Dustin Rhodes, you got to keep him around as the wily vet. He still has great matches and he can teach the locker room a lot of things. Eddie Kingston, you got to keep him around. He's a huge personality. He's fun to have. He's over like a motherfucker. Where's he been, by the way? I haven't seen him the last couple weeks, I don't think. I don't know, man. I lose track with AEW, to be honest with you. That's why we're clearing a lot of this stuff up. Ethan Page. I know a lot of people like Ethan Page. I think I'd go ahead and I would cut Ethan Page. I don't know. I think he's a guy that could be like a TNA main eventer. I don't see him as... unless I can find a good tag team for him, perhaps. Men of the Year, with Scorpio. Maybe, I guess... if I want to stack tag team roster, we could keep him around with Scorpio. Let's go ahead and do that. But if he was a singles guy, I'd cut him. Evil Uno. Let's keep him around as a manager for Reynolds and in Silver. But let's not keep him on as an in-ring talent. I would have never got rid of Stu Grayson. In fact, maybe we could bring Stu Grayson back and pair up with Uno as another tag team. I would be willing to do that. I want a stacked tag team roster. But if I cannot bring Stu Grayson back, I'm going to retire Uno from the ring. But I'm going to keep him on as a manager because I do think he's a good talker and he can wear a suit well and he's a good personality for that. Frankie Kazarian. Let's go ahead and cut Kazarian. Nothing against Frankie. He's a good talent. I'm sure TNA would give him Impact, would give him a good home. He's a good talent. He's fine. And hell, he looks good for his age, right? He still looks younger than he is. I just don't, there's a lot of guys on the roster and he doesn't really jump out for any particular reason, I did like when he was like the Elite Killer. And he was almost like a Punisher character in a certain way. Like he's out to take out bad guys. That might be a good, like, if I could repackage him as like a Punisher-like character that just like he was going to take out bad guys. He's a good guy, but he's a bad good guy. And he's going to fucking end. He's the, instead of being the Elite Killer, he's like you wouldn't call him the bad guy killer, but if you could give him that kind of character, like a wrestling Punisher, because I felt like he was leaning that way, and I actually really liked that. But so maybe we give him a chance, and then we'll reevaluate next time. Otherwise, cut him. if he's up for doing that character, which why wouldn't he be? Then yeah, let's try that. Fuego, I love Fuego as a personality. Let's keep him on as a full-time job guy. You're never gonna give him a push. Maybe give him like the big like Barry Horowitz win at some point. You know what I mean, for a fun storyline over somebody. But like he's a but instead of bringing in all these indie guys all the time, and I would want to still do that too to a certain extent. I like that Tony does that. It gives them work at least. But you need job guys on your roster, guys that can just take a fucking beating by people. And Fuego's that guy, man. Like when you need a guy you need like a murder hawk monster to go out and destroy somebody. You don't want to feed them like somebody higher up on. You don't want to feed them like a Jay Lethal down here or something like that, right? Like you feed them like a Fuego del Sol. You got to have a guy or two like that around. Griff Garrison, as long as he's in the tag team with Pillman, he's around. But I think unless Garrison like blows me away out of nowhere somehow, I think eventually I would be looking to transition Pillman to a singles role. Like I said, I want to see more out of him. I'm going to push him hard. I'm going to have vets be harder on him. Like, not like in a mean way, but like, boy, come on, man. We have high hopes for you. I would really want to see him in a TNT title spot level of talent. You know what I mean? But he's got to be able to break out. And at that point, I would get rid of Griff. But for now, let's keep the tag team around. The Varsity Blondes work for me. Hook, of course, we're keeping Hook. Why would we get rid of Hook? He's the shit. The FTW title we could probably do without, though, huh? We got enough titles. I know it's not a recognized championship, but it's still a title. And I feel like Brian Cage buried it, too. So why don't we go ahead and get rid of that, but keep Hook. Isaiah Cassidy and Mark Quinn. Private Party as the job guys for my tag team division for now, because I had higher hopes for them, and I feel like they have not kept up their end of the deal. You know what I mean? I feel like they haven't really broken out yet. They've been around. They were given a couple spotlights. I don't think it's that they're being used poorly. I think that they're just not breaking through to the next level. So because I am invested in my tag team division, and because they don't just outright suck, we'll keep them around. But they'll probably be taking a lot of L's. Jake Hager. Yes, we keep Hager around. We keep him as the muscle for Jericho. He's fine. I like Hager. He doesn't blow me away. He's not like a immense talent, but fucker looks good, right? He's a good heater for Jericho or for whoever else. And he just, he's a good big muscle dummy. You can always reevaluate him later, but I mean, for now, there's no reason to get rid of him. Jay Lethal, I'd move him to the Ring of Honor roster. That's separate from here. I would actually, they're all signed to AEW contracts, as I understand it. There's not separate Ring of Honor contracts. So it's not like you're firing the guy. But it would be a demotion, I guess. But let's get him off of AEW. The whole act, him and the big guy and Sanjay, all of them. And now even fucking Jeff Jarrett. God, cringe. Oh, my God. Let's move Jay Lethal's bullshit over to Ring of Honor. But keep him, I guess, signed. Jeff Hardy, let's go ahead and cut him. He's going to save us probably a pretty big roster payday. I'm sure he's getting good money, and he hasn't done a goddamn thing to earn it. I know he's Jeff Hardy. I know he's a legend. I know you want to have legends around. He's a fuck up, man. And not that he can't be redeemed, but like, what are you paying the guy for now? Cut him. Jeff Jarrett. Ugh. Look, man, he's fine. He's probably a good signing to have for backstage. And I don't even know why they're adding him to the live events thing, just because he did that for WWE. Suddenly he's the master of live event promotions. I don't know, unless he has his connections in India from that Ring Ka King or whatever. Maybe they would use him for something like that. But just as a brain, a wrestling brain, he's good to have backstage in some sort of leadership role of some kind, probably. I would have never brought Jeff Jarrett in, but now that I have him, I'm not going to fire him because he's a good brain to have around in the roster, but I am certainly not going to have him on my TV. I'll take him right off of TV. You know what I mean? We'll figure out a way to write him out. John Silver. Yeah, we're keeping him around for the tag team with Reynolds. Josh Woods. I'm sure he's a talented guy, but fuck him. Let's get rid of him or move him over to the Ring of Honor roster. Maybe, I guess, if there's somebody else in the back that's going to come to me and be like, go to bat for the guy, if like the Elites, one of the EVPs are like, no, man, please keep him around. Please. He's really good. Do it for a favor for me. We can move him to the Ring of Honor roster. Otherwise, yeah, we'll cut him. Jungle Boy, no brainer. Let's keep him around. He's a future star. We're just going to keep working with him, keep him growing, keep him working with top talent like he is with Christian right now. And eventually we're going to be looking to have him break out to the top of the roster. Keith Lee, yep, we're going to keep him around. Looks like him and Swerve are on the verge of breaking up, so I don't know that I'm looking to keep him around as a tag team guy. But he's a big old fucking hoss, and he's got charisma. People like to watch him, so let's keep him on the roster. Kenny Omega. Yeah, absolutely keep Kenny. I'm not as high on Kenny as other people are. I'm, say like a Dave Meltzer or something, but we'll keep Kenny around, obviously, because he's a big star and an EVP. Kip Sabian. Kip's a tough one for me because I actually like Kip Sabian. I don't know what they're doing with the whole box on the head gimmick. I think that's a little ridiculous. I want to keep Kip, but I don't think he's performing well either. I think, unfortunately, we'll cut Kip Sabian and hope to bring him back later. Like, hey, dude, I actually like you, but I don't feel like you're growing to the level that we need you to. I'm going to cut you loose now, but I want, you to keep working. And if you want to come back later, I'd love to have you, after you've grown a little. Kyle O'Reilly, got to keep him around. He's a beast in the ring. Way more charismatic and fun to watch than people give him credit for. Lance Archer, I'm going to actually get rid of Lance Archer. I don't know. Being just a big monster doesn't do enough for me. Maybe move him to the Ring of Honor roster. The Ring of Honor needs a monster, and I'm getting rid of Brian Cage, so we could do that. You could convince me that could work as the monster for Ring of Honor. He doesn't do nothing for AEW. And I'll tell you why. I feel like a guy like Archer deserves a main event spot, but I don't think he is a main eventer that people want to watch. So it's kind of a conundrum, right? Like you're almost insulting him by making him like a preliminary guy, a mid-card guy. But at the same time, like he's not any better than that. But being a big monster as that character, it's like if you're not killing people in dominant, then you're stale, you're shit, You can't be a monster when you're not monstering on anybody. So I'd move him to Ring of Honor, try him there, and then reevaluate. Lee Johnson. I'm going to go ahead and cut Lee Johnson. I know that Lee Johnson does the indie talent booking backstage. Maybe we'll keep him around because he's got another role. Obviously, he's pulling his weight with the company and reevaluate another time. So I actually take that back. We'll keep Lee Johnson. We will get rid of Lee Moriarty. He's not a difference maker. We can do without him for now. Luchasaurus I would like to keep, but let's get rid of the stupid fucking mask and the dinosaur gimmick for gosh sakes. When he turned on Jungle Boy, all I wanted to see was him like take the mask off and drop it after he destroyed Jungle Boy. Drop it down next to him, and you see the camera angle just showing a fucking laid out, possibly bloody Jungle Boy, and then the fucking mask laying on the mat, and then the camera pans up and reveals the man behind the mask. and now he's a bad guy. Let's keep him around. Let's switch up the gimmick a little bit. Let's have him lose the mask. Luther, we're going to get rid of him. I know he just took on a backstage role. I know he's Chris Jericho's boy, and Chris will get pissed. Chris will understand that God, Chris is almost like a EVP. I guess if we have to appease Chris, and look, I don't look to play the let's appease everybody by hiring their best friends game. But I think there's a little bit to that. You know what I mean? Like, look, for any of you that look at that and think that's stupid, if you work for a company, you work for any corporate company, think of the job that you have in real life. If your friend needs a job and you go to your boss, you're like, hey, my friend needs a job here. He'd be a good, pick and whatever. Like, it's a good morale move to you to throw your friend a bone on your recommendation, right? So it's like, I don't know. Jericho is almost like he's a uncrowned, untitled EVP. I feel like you appease him a little bit. So we'll keep Luther around. Not on TV, though. Maybe on Dark, jobbing for people. I don't know. Mark Henry, we'll keep him around in his current role. Fine. Mark Sterling, we'll keep him around in his current role. Mark Quinn, like I said, they got to show me something. Matt Hardy, I think we'll cut Matt Hardy. I really do. Unless he wants a job at Ring of Honor. Ring of Honor needs a legend, and he was there. He spent time there. Maybe we move Matt Hardy over to Ring of Honor if he wants to do that. If not, we'll cut him. No offense to Matt Hardy. I don't hate the guy or anything. It's just we got a bloated roster, and he's not doing a lot. And I know he's a legend, but, Matt and Nick Jackson, they got office jobs, so of course we'll keep them. Matt Menard, we already discussed. We're keeping them 2.0. Obviously a great talent. Matt Sydal, I'm going to go ahead and cut Matt Sydal. Don't give a shit about him. Max Caster, obviously, we talked about already. Michael Nakazawa, knock it the fuck off, as Jim Cornette would say. He's funny, but no, I would cut Michael Nakazawa. Look, we already got Brandon Cutler. We can't hire all your friends, Elite. I know your EVPs, and I know, I'm okay doing a favor for people, for top guys, top elite level main event guys, if they got a buddy that they want to keep on the roster, like Hulk Hogan had with Brutus the Barber Beefcake. This isn't new, right? This is something that's always been done in wrestling, favors like that. The little buddy, Macho and Lanny Poffel, right? Leap and Lanny always had a job because Mach had a job. We'll keep Brandon around, but we're not going to keep Nakazawa around. This is an obnoxiously long roster, by the way. This is a bit much. Miro, we got to keep Miro around. I think he's criminally underutilized. I would move him to the top of my card. Not champion, but top of the card. Give him a run with Moxley. What the fuck are you doing? MJF, keeping him around, no brainer. Brody Lee, -1. That's like one of those favor hires. Get this fucking kid off of my TV, but if you want to keep, dude, he was promised a contract, right? So I'm not going to deny him that, but. And his mom works there, and his dad. That's a tough situation. That would be kind of political suicide to try to touch. If I were to go in there and take over and be like, yeah, I'm going to fire fucking Brody Lee's kid. You know what I mean? But I would try my best to keep him off TV. Malachi Black, I'm going to cut him because he doesn't want to be there. I don't want that in my locker room. We got a bloated roster. Bye. Maybe you'll be a difference maker to WWE, and we'll hate ourselves, and it's the first shots fired like Cody Rhodes, and everybody's jumping ship, and it could be like Jericho leaving WCW in the 90s, and I don't care. Get rid of Malachi Black. We'll get rid of Nick Camarado. We're keeping Nick Jackson. I already touched Orange. Ortiz and Santana don't get along anymore, correct? So... God, I would love them for my tag team division. But if they're not going to be a tag team anymore, I'm going to cut them both. They can both leave and go reinvent themselves somewhere else, but not on my roster. And that's their fault for having a beef. You know what I mean? I don't hate them. I don't have hard feelings. They can both come back after they've left and done something as a solo, as a singles talent, and come back. Even I'm not even saying go be a main eventer somewhere. I already know they're both talented, but you're a tag team, and I'm not going to let you guys find yourselves on the single level on my roster when it's so bloated already. You know what I mean? And you guys don't get along, so it's not a good idea to keep you both, at least right now anyway. Cut you free. Go see what you can do on your own. Doors always open for you to come back when the situation is different. Pac, I'm going to keep him around. We already discussed him, I guess. Keep him around for now. Parker Boudreaux, I don't know why they signed too many people. Let's cut him. Not that he sucks. I mean, I'm sure he's fine. I don't watch Dark. I don't know. But, we signed too many people. Let's get rid of them. Paul White, not sure why he has a job. I love Paul White. No disrespect. He's a legend. They never use him, so I don't see any reason to start using him. Keep him around as a backstage, whatever. But Penta, we covered. Hobbs is my fucking man. I'm going to keep Hobbs around, and I'm going to give him a giant push. We're going to move him into the TNT title picture, possibly just give him the title when we move Wardlow up to the main event spot, right? Preston Vance, I'm going to get rid of Preston. We're going to cut him. We're not keeping this Dark Order shit around anymore. We can call Silver and Reynolds can call their tag team the Dark Order because they'll be managed by Uno. But we're not going to keep Preston around. I'm sorry. Peter Avalon, we're going to cut him as well. I think he was already cut and was offered a per appearance deal, and he took it. I would just, I guess if he's on a per, there's no reason other than the Fuego del Sol thing. You need a couple job guys. So I guess if it's per appearance, hey, we'll bring in, throw you a payday, but we don't have to if we don't want to. Sure. But otherwise, there's no need to keep him around. QT, I'm going to keep him around for his backstage skills and as a mouthpiece in the ring. I don't feel like there's a need for him. I feel like just watching him on Sammy's vlog and stuff, I think he's criminally underrated. I think a lot of people hate him for the wrong reasons. People think that he's boring, and maybe he's not being used the best on camera, but he was a goddamn gem on Sammy's vlog. He's very talented. He swears a lot. Him and Fuego had this little storyline beef going on Sammy's vlog, and it was really, really good. QT, I looked forward to it. QT was a good character. I would encourage more of that if he's going to be on camera, but I'm going to keep him as a manager of some kind, but not a wrestler, and then a backstage guy. Ray Phoenix, we already discussed. Ricky Starks, God, yes, we're keeping him around and giving him a giant push ski as well up towards that TNT level. And I'm not saying we're going to give all these guys a TNT title run necessarily, but they're going to be in the mix competing for that belt regularly. If not, getting a quick run TV match with, we just saw Penta have a match with Moxley. Why can't we have Ricky Starks or fucking Powerhouse Hobbs have a main event match with Moxley? You know what I mean? There's no reason they can't. We'll keep him around. Roosh, I'm going to go ahead and cut Roosh. Nothing against the guy, but just don't need him. Maybe if we need to fill out spots on the Ring of Honor roster, he could be moved over there. I'd be okay with that. Sammy, we're going to keep. I like Sammy a lot. He'll straighten up. He's a punk ass kid still. And I know he's in his 30s. He's not like a kid, but he's got the mentality of a kid. He's very youthful, wild. He's the guy that's going to go jump off. He has no impulse control. He's very like a kid in the way of a kid. He's curious about the world. He's not really thinking past his next move. He's got some growing up to do still, and that's fine. He's a hell of a talent, though. We're keeping Sammy around, despite what you think. Samoa Joe. Of course, we're keeping Samoa Joe around. Let's keep him as the fucking Minoru Suzuki of AEW, maybe of Ring of Honor, maybe of both. Maybe he's one of those rare guys that could. But he's starting to get older now. He's starting to bald up a little bit. He's getting a little chubbier than he was. He was always a thick boy, but he was lean thick, Now he's not. His best days are behind him, but I could see him as a Minoru Suzuki, still a killer, despite no matter what he can do. Into his 50s, he will just be Joe's gonna kill you. He'll be a beast. He'll do less, but we'll make what he does special. He's gonna be Minoru. We're gonna give him that kind of Joe's gonna kill you demeanor. Not necessarily gonna push him to the main event, but he's gonna hold that spot. Santana, we already discussed in a way. He's gonna go. He's gone. If he's not a tag team with Ortiz right now, he can go discover himself. Same exact thing with Ortiz. I don't need to repeat myself. Satnam Singh, as I said, we're moving the whole act with Jay Lethal over to Ring of Honor. So I will keep him around. He's a gigantic man. God, if he can learn something, they could really do something with him. But he's kind of like an Omos at this point. We're both just big, gumpy dummies, basically. No offense to either one of them, but they're like the giant Gonzalez. You know what I mean? Their only real talent is being tall. But hey, we'll see. Scorpio Sky, we're gonna keep around in a tag team with Ethan Page for now. If that team were to ever break up, I would keep Scorpio. I would get rid of Ethan. Scorpio, I like Scorpio. There's got to be a spot for him somewhere. Serpentico, we'll cut Serpentico. There's no reason to keep him around. I'm sorry. Sean Dean, the captain. No, he's the one that does the booking of the talent backstage, isn't he? I apologize. I don't know. If he is, we'll keep him and we'll get rid of Shotty Lee. No, yeah, it is Sean Dean. It's not Shotty Lee. I go back. We're going to get rid of Shotty and we're going to keep Sean Dean, the captain. Let's see. Sean Spears. Ouch. I would get rid of Sean Spears. I'm sorry, Sean. I know you were just on Renee Paquette's podcast and you're going to be a dad and you're a nice guy and all, but I just don't. Unless you want to move to Ring of Honor, I could make room for you on Ring of Honor. You can, that chairman character, there's more room for that character to grow, I think, within a Ring of Honor. Not that he's just going to be the guy swinging chairs, but, like a bad guy with a little bit of a mean streak that can kind of tuck his tail and show ass a little bit. Sanjay, we're moving over to Ring of Honor. Sonny Kiss, I'm sorry, I'm getting rid of you, Sonny. Nothing against who you are, as a matter of fact. I'm perfectly okay with that. But we are going to get rid of you because you don't do anything on the roster. That's why. Stinger, of course we're keeping Sting. Goddamn legend. You keep Sting always. Stokely Hathaway, no-brainer. We're keeping him around. As a manager, he's a fucking phenomenal talent. Swerve Strickland. God, I'm keeping Swerve around. The more I see of Swerve, the more he impresses me, the more he grows on me. I very distinctly remember I had kind of checked out of NXT by the time that Hit Row was becoming a thing. So I didn't really catch his rise there in NXT and as the North American champion and stuff. But when he debuted in AEW, I remember very distinctly a wait and see approach to him. Let's see what this kid's got. We'll see. But he blows me away every time I see him. He's immensely talented. I'm keeping him on the roster, and I'm going to push him up to that TNT title level after him and Keith split up. The Blade and the Butcher, yes, we're going to keep them around. I love them as the henchman tag team. They're going to take a lot of L's, but that's their job, and they know that that's their job. They're the henchmen. They're as they stated, their gimmick is the weirdo specialty guys that you call in when you need a dirty job done, right? They're those guys. So they're the guys that show up with eye patches and butcher aprons, and they're and monocles, and they're we'll fucking break his legs for you. We'll disappear him. You know what I mean? That's those guys. So yeah, we're gonna keep them around. Tony Nese, let's get rid of Tony Nese. I don't see any use for Tony Nese on the roster. Sorry. You look good, but no. Unless I could find a spot for you on Ring of Honor. We can see how you work over there if you want to drop down to there. Trent, we already discussed. We're keeping him on board with Chuck as the best friends tag team. Wheeler Yuta. I'm not as high on Wheeler Yuta as other people are. I do recognize that he has talent. He just hasn't done anything for my taste yet, personally. We'll keep him on board, but I think I want to move him over to Ring of Honor. We're splitting up the Blackpool Combat Club. Let's move Wheeler over to Ring of Honor, and I think he has an opportunity to break out over there as a babyface. You know what I mean? There's more wiggle room over there. He won't get lost in the mix on the roster that way. William Regal, I don't know why I guess if they're keeping managers, Stokely's on here. So yeah, obviously we're keeping William Regal around. I actually would make him the commissioner. Tony Khan could come out and say, look, we need a little bit of structure around here. So, there's so much going on that I need a little bit of help. So what I'm going to do, and he don't need to make himself look like a useless fuck quite like that. But, I'm paraphrasing how it could go, but essentially, I'm bringing in a little added help. So William Regal, after the BCC breaks up or the Big Black Cock breaks up, William Regal can be the commissioner. That's where everybody wants to see him anyway. That way, Tony's not really on TV ever anyway. But, William can do, Tony Khan has advised me, he can make all the announcements. Can be the proverbial face of the company. And use him sparingly as like a Jack Tunney, or you know what I mean? Don't bring him out to start every show. Just bring him out when something big needs to happen, a title, something needs to get clarified, a big match needs to get made for a pay-per-view, and we'll do it like that. Nothing wrong with that. Oh, this is such a giant roster. Should I even dare to tackle the women's roster? I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that if the women's roster gets a lot of low ratings on TV, that my YouTube views are not going to stick around if we've already made it through the men's roster, and now I'm going to take the time to go through the women's roster. Let's say at a glance, instead of just evaluating everybody, we'll get rid of Aqua, we'll get rid of Emi Sakura, we'll get rid of I like Leva, so we'll keep her around. Actually, we're gonna get rid of Layla. I haven't seen her in a while. We'll get rid of Paige Van Zant. We'll get rid of Riho. And we'll get rid of Sakazaki. You could suck a coxie. We're going to get rid of her too. And there you have it. The AEW roster. No, I would not get rid of anybody in the commentary team except for Alex fucking Marvez. You're done, Marvez. You're out of here. Hit the bricks, kid. I don't like Marvez. We're going to get rid of Marvez. And while we're at it, we're going to get rid of Rick Knox. Fuck you. Other than that, that's it. That's my AEW roster evaluation. What did you guys think? Did I cut anybody that you were like, what are you thinking? Rage at me in the comments. I want to hear your opinions. Also, who would you cut? List a few names, list all the names. I don't care. Let's just engage is all I'm asking. Let's leave your thoughts. This isn't just me yelling at you. Let's interact about it. What are your thoughts? And again, this is my interpretation. It's not definitive. Your ideas are just as valid as mine. With that said, I'll cut you loose because this has been a long one. Thanks for checking out this bonus content. I want to do more of stuff like this. Peace, love, and pizza. I am your boy, Seth Grimes, and we'll catch you in the next video.